basketball team is planning a party. A slumber party. The party begins at 8 o'clock.
Love it too. You think I'm getting better?
But be on the lookout for an uninvited guest.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast That Wouldn't Die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Hello.
This week, we're discussing the horror classic Slumber Party Massacre, starring... There's some people. Like, if you are...
People with SAG cards, I guess. Would you say this is a union activity?
There are a couple actresses in this who could be described as being kind of B-movie scream queens of the Linnea Quigley variety.
So half a block away from being a porn star.
Basically, the chicks...
Which is basically Maxine. So there we go. We just roll into another movie.
Okay, anyway. The podcast That Wouldn't Die, as you know, discuss guilty pleasures and forgotten classics of the horror and sci-fi genres with a comedic twist, we hope. I wanted to talk to you about, for some reason, I've been thinking a lot about Grandpa Joe from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yes.
And how he sucks.
He sucks.
He's
letting a little boy and the widowed mom sit around boil filthy clothes 12 hours a day, and the little boy has it because these people who are in their 50s can't get out of bed. 4 of them, those old women can't darn some socks.
Nothing. No, it's this motherfucker. Truly, it's like they are starving, and he's still like, where's my pipe tobacco? Right? He's when he gets up, the moment Charlie wins the golden ticket, that motherfucker jumps right up out of bed, does a little song and a dance. If I was the mom, I would have pushed him into the boiling pot at that stage of the game.
Hell yeah. So you're perfectly fine. And now that there's a little money, it's like the girl who's dating the dude and she's like not into it until she sees his wallet.
Oh, 100%.
That's Grandpa Joe.
And what
now
makes
he's
it
in
worse,
full recovery. I've been like,
totally.
"Oh man, get out of my house! I'm going with my son." And then
absolutely, she's holding the family together. She is.
Oh my god, her skin is as gray as that horrible laundry she's boiling in her kettle.
100%. 100%. And
what a selfish son of a bitch. And he almost loses everything for Charlie with his bad, shitty, crooked advice.
He's a bad influence. Charlie Bucket is just as bad as any of those other kids. They just didn't get chopped up in the fan. That was all that.
He was 1 minute away from having his own little fucking song. Agreed.
100%.
He's not any better. He's not any better
because he had a bad influence. Right.
Yeah. He had a bad influence. Now, if Grandpa Joe wasn't there, they wouldn't be like, hey, let's all break the rules.
Oh, totally. I was. If you listen to it, when he starts singing, the first thing he says, I haven't gotten out of bed in 20 years. Okay. I looked it up. Jack Albertson was like in his early 60s when he was in Willy Wonka. You're telling me like at 41, you climbing into
41,
bed?
He was like out. Deuces.
You're like, I'm not contributing anything else to this family.
I don't know why I didn't come up with that plan.
Where do I sign up for the 41 bed rest?
No,
exactly.
Jack Albert is a jackass.
No question.
No question. I kick those old people out. Let the government take them. Are there no workhouses?
As our friend Ebenezer often spoke of, absolutely. In that case, I'm on board with it. Right at that point, Grandpa Joe, come on, bro. Come on.
Yeah.
Anywho.
F you.
F you, Grandpa Joe.
Agreed.
No question.
For all I know, he's working for Slugworth.
He probably is. Where do you think he gets his tobacco money? Right?
Are we sure it's tobacco? Maybe that's why he just has to keep laying back down, taking another nap. And speaking of Willy Wonka, did you see the piece of trash third adventure in Willy Wonka Land. The last two were trash, so let's just keep redoing it.
There's gonna be. Are you talking about the Chalamet edition, or is there another one?
M. Night Chalamet. The only good part is the Oompa Loompa.
Yeah.
And in the Johnny Depp, the only good part is the Oompa Loompa. Flush the rest away.
100%.
Let's just have all Oompa Loompas with all these stars.
My problem, I mean, Chalamet is, I guess he's a good actor. I just find him eminently punchable. I don't know what it is. I mean, I was in drama. You were in drama. It's like there were those kids, those little kind of scrawny, twerpy dudes who were like the drama stars who you wanted to throttle just a little bit.
I thought his acting was so over the top in Dune 2, I laughed at him. When it's quiet stuff, it's good. But when he starts trying to yell and his little voice is cracking, I ain't standing up to fight and die with him. I thought that was so over the top. He looked ridiculous.
I agree.
The rest of Dune 2 was, I mean, it's okay. I'm not a big Dune 2. I'm not into just taking one fucking story and stretching it out into 9 hours. But Chalamet was fine until he starts trying to rally troops. He's no Mel Gibson in Braveheart. I'm telling you that.
He's no Mel Gibson. 100%. Sweet Jesus. Now that being said, why don't you give
no Russell Crowe. He's little Chalamet. You! I told you!
Yes. All 30 pounds of Chalamet is rallying the troops. 100%.
Yeah.
Give us your 30-second synopsis of Slumber Party Massacre.
You didn't even fucking ask me what I've been up to.
Okay. Sorry. My bad. What you got?
I mean, that's out of control. First of all, I've just returned from my third vacation of the summer. And I did drive by and I sent you pictures of what's left of the side of the Shamrock
Silver
Factory.
Shamrock?
Silver Shamrock Factory. It's half torn down. It will be just a pile of bricks. So kids, get out to Lolita while you still can.
I need to protest.
Tragic.
100%. It's a national treasure.
I did go out and take pictures in Ferndale where they shot, of course, the Stephen King vampire classic, Salem's
Lot. Which we have not done on the show because you don't like the TV miniseries with James Mason
Lance
and David
Kerwin?
Soul.
No.
And Lance Kerwin.
Those two were so over the top with their acting too.
Oh.
I mean, we should probably watch it because I saw it once when it first came out and I thought, what the f? Because this was one of the scariest books I read.
100%.
And now I'm watching this and I'm watching Lance Kerwin have like a meltdown. It's like a Chalamet. And I was like, no. And David Soul. Like slapping him. Get yourself together. It's this kind of shit.
100%.
I think there was some shameful version that they've just done that I think was released to HBO. Perhaps that's the one we should go to dig up.
Oh, right. Well, they did one, I want to say 15 years ago with Rob Lowe.
They did one this year.
I know they did one, which I've heard nothing about and I have never seen. But I know they did the 15-year-old one was with like Donald Sutherland, Rutger Hauer, if I'm remembering this correctly, and Rob Lowe was the guy coming to town. The novelist, or I'm trying to remember. The David Soul part essentially is Rob Lowe.
Right.
So such is life. They're tearing down our history, Aaron. What are you doing?
They're tearing down our history. Well, there's Salem's Lot.
Yes.
It says one season. A Dark Terror comes to Jerusalem Lot. And that's the Rob Lowe. That looks like it was a series.
It was a miniseries.
Then a miniseries. Then there's Salem's Lot 2024.
Is it out?
Not available at this moment to stream anywhere in the name of God and all that is holy.
Well, maybe it's not out yet.
I heard it's not going to the theaters. It's going right into the trash can. And then in 1987, there was Return to Salem's Lot.
Yes, that was Larry Cohen, Michael Moriarty. It was like a total, they just took the idea and got the guys who did Q and The Stuff and said, do what you like with it. That's what it is.
Well, that's too bad because really what they need to do is when they redo it, there was also a short story in one of the short story books about another kind of conclusion to Salem's Lot. It was like 10 years later. A car
Oh,
breaks
okay.
down.
Right. I think it was like in the Night Shift collection.
Night Shift. It
There
was
was
part of the
called
Night Shift.
the story was called One for the Road. And it was a
Yes.
situation where it was like it was a snowstorm and it was on the freeway and a car got stuck. And
Car
they're
got
like,
stuck. They're dressed for city weather. I
right,
remember playing thin leather gloves, not like a good Maine nor'easter.
right. And it's that American Werewolf in London situation where the locals are like, you shouldn't go out and
Bro.
help those people.
Right.
So I remember enjoying it. I remember thinking it was 15 pages maybe, but it was a fun little something.
That would be fun, like if they did it correct, which it seems like they didn't again. Like the credits start rolling, then they stop and they just delve right into this, like a fake out.
That'd be good.
That would be good. Where are we working in Hollywood? Although I just been reading on TikTok for a month that Hollywood is now dead. So
It is dead. It's a sad situation.
if they keep pumping out shit like this, not a surprise.
Give us your 30-second synopsis on Slumber Party Massacre, for God's sakes.
Well, once again, we have The Boy's Wet Dream, a semi-pornographic movie with 35-year-old high school girls.
100%.
Have a slumber party, but of course there is a serial killer who doesn't really speak, going around with a power drill that he stole from a line lady.
Yes.
The
The end.
nonsense.
100%.
I just want to tell you,
Please.
as a woman, whether I was in high school or 35 like these women, when we like had a slumber party like in college,
Right.
we didn't show up in sheer negligee so I can bedazzle my friends with my nips. That would be frowned upon. Someone would yell, "Put that shit away."
Well, let me stop you right there. They don't show up in the negligee. They show up in their regular clothes, and then in the living room, everyone decides to change into their negligees in full view of the wide open picture window for all the neighbors to see, and put on a show for all their friends. 100%.
I love all these movies from the 70s and 80s. Women are changing in front of an open window, staring out through the open window, giving ourselves a quick cancer check on our bazooms.
Absolutely.
That shit don't happen. That shit don't happen. Ridiculous. These are like crazy Adam and Eve mail order catalog outfits. It was like half the girls are wearing like boyfriend's oversized tees and other people are playing for pinup of the year.
100%.
Did their mamas buy that for them when they were a sophomore in high school?
At the age of 35? Yes, with the
age of
garter belts.
Yeah.
Straps.
Fucking
Yeah.
80s ridiculousness.
Oh, that's how they did it. No, it's funny.
This is a movie for men. They they didn't expect any women to show up to the theater for
Well,
this.
we're going to talk about this. Well, ironically, the original script called Sleepless Nights was written as a parody of horror movies written by famous feminist lesbian novelist Rita Mae Brown. Okay, you can Google it. She's like famous feminist from the 70s. Wrote it as a parody, and then
that would have been great.
And then sold it to Roger Corman,
who said, "Throw this shit out."
They basically said, "We're getting rid of all the parody shit, and we're doing this straight up normal." And then they hired. She was a female director. This is the first movie she ever directed. She had been an editor for years, which is how Roger Corman would do it. You had to be an editor for so long.
Right.
And then he said, "Okay, I'm going to give you your chance. You can do this." And basically she had a checklist, a Roger Corman checklist, where it's like, how many topless scenes do I need? Absolutely. Yes. And it was by the numbers. So it's like, literally, if you watch the movie, which I had never seen this, and you had never seen this before either.
No.
The only reason I wanted to do it is because they'd talked about it occasionally on those, 100 best 80s horror slasher movies.
Well, how could this ever have been on the 100 best anything?
I agree. But it spawned 3 sequels. And I'd actually seen Slumber Party Massacre 2, which was more parody-ish, where the killer was like an Elvis impersonator or something along those lines.
That would have been better.
Yes.
But quite frankly, when the movie costs $3 to make, as long as it makes 9, you've doubled,
You've
tripled
done
it, man. You're hardcore. Let's roll. Let's get next.
Right. But this movie is really shocking in its lack of plot. Like there's really, it really is. Because it's like, okay, the movie rolls. They're like, oh, by the way, an escaped murderer is on the loose. Russ Thorne. They make a point to mention his name multiple times.
And nobody cares. And no one's looking for him.
Right. Well, they say in 1969, he killed 5 people. So he's been in jail for 13 years, escaped, no fanfare. He's just on the loose. And there's often this question I have about these kind of slasher movies. It's like, I guess if you're a serial killer, that's all the motivation they need to give you. They don't have to say, you're targeting this house for this reason. You could just be like, I'm a serial killer. There's a house. There's people in it. That's all the motivation I need. But
that's
it always
all
seems...
I need. Oh no, then they gave you some weird motivation at the end.
Did they?
I love you. Yes. There was this whole the drill is a penis
100%.
and I'm killing you because I love you and this is the greatest show of respect, and then she castrates him metaphorically but not physically, which would have gotten the job done better. I literally had to Google. I'm like, did they have cordless drills?
I did too.
Those days? I was like, what?
I did too. Did they have...
That is the most silent drill, motherfucking drill. I mean, and just by going like this, you can kill people with that?
Yes, clearly. Clearly, he just swing it around a little bit, and it's just like, oh, I've disemboweled this person. I slit this person's throat. But you're right. I was Googling it. When did Black & Decker invent a cordless drill? Now, a cordless drill is not like a chainsaw. Chainsaw is totally ridiculous because you've got to crank it. It's noisy as hell. You can hear them coming a mile away. I guess with a cordless drill, it's silent until you pull the trigger, and then I'm drilling. I guess, right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess you're right. That thing is very big. It just seems weird that would be cordless. It just seems too big.
It does.
But then, how would you get up the pole? I guess they'd have to do it either the old-fashioned way or there's a power source on the truck and you drag that up.
And I guess you made the point.
It seems too powerful.
Right.
But maybe I'm wrong.
Well, you made the point that the only reason he had the power drill is because at the beginning of the movie, he murders the surprisingly attractive lineman for the telephone company who was at the school for some reason. And presumably, she just had it in the back of the van.
And showing off her ass, because that's what you want to do when you're climbing the pole.
That's literally climbing the pole. Yes. So that's the only reason why he had it. So that wasn't his thing in 1969, although who knows? We're given no details.
What if he killed the ice cream man? Maybe he would have been scooping everybody's brains out or something. I don't know. Stabbing him with wooden sticks.
Yes.
Or like what those popsicles that like the American flag, they could be shoving that up your ass. And then you hypothermia, I guess.
Should I be writing this down? I mean, are we dropping pearls in Hollywood?
Our horror porn.
Oh,
I can't remember. What were those called? Do you remember?
Which
you know what I'm talking about? The popsicles that look like a rocket, and it was red, white, and blue.
Yeah, weren't they called? Oh crap! I don't remember now. You're right. I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. Yes, 100%.
That's the beginning of our porn horror film, The Ice Cream Man Cometh.
There was a horror movie called The Ice Cream Man starring Clint Howard from the 90s, by the way. So there you go. Clint Howard, he's always available. But this movie, it is literally like a bunch of chicks who are on the basketball team, which that is the worst basketball I have ever seen. They're dribbling the ball up to their chin. I mean, it was like, did they just roll the ball out and say, F it, do what you want? I thought, was it PE or was it a practice? Or
it was a practice. It was a practice.
There's people
And
cheering.
then there were long, heavy eye contact stares while they're showering and rubbing your boobs and making dead eye contact with the person across the shower from you. And then she rolls up. I thought she'd be like, "Bitch, why are you staring at me in the shower?" But then it seemed more like she wanted to give her a smoochie. I don't know what was happening.
She did. Yeah, the main...
He sidled up there. Like, I wasn't sure which way this was going, and it went a whole other third way. You're the best basketball player in the world.
Well, and they're sharing the bar of soap. Pass me that soap. Is that what people do? I just wiped my tuchus with this, and now I'm passing it on to the next person.
I like to assume they had that weird pink powdered soap, and you just had to scrub your zotch with that.
Yeah, where it's just clean it with just gravel, just basically.
Lava soap with pumice.
With the original pumice. No, this movie credits roll, and there is the chick, the main girl, whose name, of course, I cannot remember for the life of me. Gets out of bed and immediately is topless. Boom! I'm getting ready for school. Boom! And I'm just like, whoa! This is right out of the gate. I literally wrote that down. Nudity is the first thing I wrote down.
Yeah.
It's boom! Right out of the gate, and you're just kind of like, so this is this movie. Like, we've seen movies. We've seen Halloween. We've seen Friday the 13th. There's nudity, but it isn't. It's literally like the credits have barely stopped rolling, and there's a boob filling up the entire screen.
I expected her to go down in her chonies and sit at the breakfast table with the family, eat some toast, tits hanging out.
100%. No question. And then, then it's smash cut to, we're playing basketball, and now we're all showering again.
Yeah.
Boobs on parade, people turning around to like...
The director wanted to get all her boob shots in the first 15 minutes in case people walked out.
Yes. And there are behind the scenes where it's like a lot of the actresses were like, I didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up for having my boobs in every scene. What are we doing? Every scene,
or just long shots of people's ass. One of them where she's literally got the soap and she's cleaning her crack.
Yes. Yes.
What the hell?
What? I don't think I've ever seen... Look, I've seen Porky's.
I have never seen crack cleaning in any of these sexploitation films.
They're trailblazers in this movie. It was that kind of where you literally like, my daughter's coming in the room and I'm like, she's gonna think I'm in here watching porn. Just broad daylight at 2 p.m. on a Thursday. I'm just watching porn down here. I'm like, what?
Popcorn, watching some porn.
That's what it looked like. And the acting, even when it's not nudity, the acting is very porny. Where you're just literally like...
And by porny, you mean terrible. It is just terrible. These sweet babies were hired only for their bods.
Oh, 100%. Well, at one point, the girl's like, there's a scene where the girl is in her car making out with her boyfriend. And there was a scene where it's like he's just grabbing her boob, like where it's full, just boob fills the camera, and the actress,
you don't even see her face. It's a giant screen of boob.
And the reason why is because that actress is like, I'm not doing that. So the director turned to the rest of the cast and said, I'll give whoever wants to do it, I'll give you a raise right now. And the lead actress, who we've seen her boobs 15 times, is like, I'll do it. So it's her boobs a 5th time.
Right on, sister.
Right on, sister. Oh my God, this movie. So again, the characterization of the killer, he just looks like an angry auto mechanic, essentially is what he is. Right?
He looks like he's got like mineral sunscreen 50. Like he's got this weird kabuki makeup on. At first I thought it was just on his head, but I'm like, he literally looks like, no, because I just bought some of this shit. I don't know if you can tell us, but I have a Ban to Soleil tan. For me, this is I'm practically Latin with this tan that I have right
practically now. 100%.
So I was so depressed when I got my 50 sunblock and put it on, and now suddenly it is I'm vampire.
That's how we do it.
Sunlight is not in my life.
Well, he's wearing basically all denim, red t-shirt, no, popped collar. It's the 80s. Popped collar, and then like
gotta pop it.
And then he's got like kind of a pomade kind of a Sopranos kind of a hairstyle that he's rocking in 82. Because he's an older guy, but he's he's just some dude. Basically, it's like, did they say, hey, Key Grip, you want to be the killer? Because that's basically what it looked like. And
this dude's literally been like 4 things, and he's always the bad guy in the 4 movies he was in.
Absolutely.
He saw the writing and hopefully moved on to something better.
Yes,
he was random. He doesn't look scary.
No. And again, no motivation, right? We hear about him, then he grabs the telephone girl, murders her in the back of the van. The van is parked in the middle of high school. I'm assuming this is high school, even though they look 35. Right. Middle of campus. She's pounding and screaming. No one hears her. There's a lot of that in this movie, where someone's killed with a giant power drill while they're screaming, and no one hears anything in the next room.
No. And I don't know if you live in a neighborhood where people use drills. I mean, I can hear the fucking gardener next door. I hear within 4 or 5 houses, everybody's doing any goddamn thing.
Of course.
There's a bonda at the end of the block. I'm going to hear it.
Yes.
But nobody can hear blood-curdling screaming in old houses and power drills constantly going. Nobody hears that.
More than one person is literally killed on the sidewalk, right? In this neighborhood. Where they're sitting there, the guy's getting stabbed. You have neighbors. What is this neighborhood? Anyway.
Well, their neighbor, Mr. Furley, got killed right there on the side of the house, and they didn't even hear it.
We got to talk about Mr. Furley. Was he supposed to be like a splash of pedo? Although the girl's 35, so are you still a pedo at that point? I don't know.
Yeah. I'm not even really sure. Why would they put that freak in charge? And he just marches in and out.
He did. I just rolled in. I'll hang out if you want. No thanks, Mr. Furley.
He comes out and scares them in the middle of the night. Yes. And they're like, hey, Mr. Furley, what's up? No bad touch today.
They were talking about the Maui Wowie that they're going to smoke. He catches them. And he literally says like, hey, I won't tell them about the weed if you don't tell your parents how I snuck into your house uninvited. Is that cool? That's a bad deal.
You've been rolling around in my bed playing with my chonies. This is disturbo. Yeah, it was just weird.
Well, and there was a weird thing that he does where the girl goes to get firewood. The bitchy girl goes to get firewood, and there's a close-up of a weird snail.
I don't want my kids building fucking fires while I'm out of town.
Oh, hell no. Hell no. So he shows up, his name's Mr. Content, which is not a real name as far as I know. He comes in with a frickin' 6-inch butcher knife and kills the snail. I've killed 57 snails. Just put some snail repellent. You ain't got to be walking the streets.
It's not organic. You forgot. It's not organic.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that was just a weirdo. That was stupid.
Weirdo.
Yeah. So when you have the knife, then why'd you get people like just stab you and kill you? You were dead 2 minutes later.
Correct. And his head is just lopped off. There's a lot of people getting
the lopper.
Later, they order a pizza, and somebody they don't answer the door. They just talk through the door. So what's the damage? Meaning, how much do we owe you for the pizza? And you hear the guy go, 6 so far. Which is that was kind of a good moment because he had killed 6 people so far. Now they open the door and there's the pizza guy standing there, holding the pizzas, but he has no eyes because I guess they've been drilled. And then what? The pizza he leaned the guy against the door holding the pizza to fall.
So what? He held him down and killed him by drilling out each of his eyeballs. Yes. He has no other physical harm.
Yes.
Picked him up. Put the pizza back in his hand and pressed him up against the door.
Yes.
With his hand sticking out.
With his hands. Rigor mortis. He's holding the pizza.
Rigor mortis set in. Oh, yeah.
Basically, 3 of these characters are kind of approaching like their actual characters. You have the bitchy girl who doesn't like the new girl. Basically, that's her whole character. I just like the people I know. Party. Right. Then you've got the new girl next door who's shy and her weird oversexed 15-year-old sister.
She's not
right?
that shy because she was the one making extreme eye contact across the shower.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, and you don't even catch. You see the 15-year-old little sister reading Playgirl with Stallone on
Yeah.
the cover to cover, looking at the centerfold. She's ready,
She
evidently.
stole it from her sister's room.
Now, tell me true. Were a lot of girls in the early 80s reading Playgirl? Maybe it's a thing.
Let me just tell you this.
Lay it on me.
I lived in a girls' dorm for freshman, sophomore, junior year
Mhm.
in high school. And yes, we had Playgirl magazine.
Playgirl.
We had Playgirl magazine. Well, curious minds, now we know. So we went through this whole arc because, famously, what's his name from Boogie Nights, who always complains?
Oh, Burt Reynolds? Yes.
Burt Reynolds. Oh, no, that was Cosmopolitan, actually.
Oh, his nude pictorial?
Right. He was a fuzzy bear, but he didn't bear his bit. So there was a whole arc in Playgirl. So when we first bought it, everybody was soft, shall we say.
Okay.
And they were attractive, kind of rugged men.
Of course.
When they realized who their real audience was,
Which is
men,
gay men. 100%.
which is gay men, it started kind of change. Like the articles would still be the same. They wanted it to be like
Playboy.
feminist articles, but
Right.
not so much. And this is Jim. Jim likes, blah blah blah. So by the end, when we stopped buying it, it was dudes with donkey dicks, full erections, bathed in like olive oil with leopard skin. It had become this whole other magazine.
100%. Yeah. Oh, no question.
No, for sure. We pulled the centerfolds out and hung them in our bathrooms just for something to look at.
She was just reading the articles, evidently.
It was more like we're freaking out. We're like, ew. It was more fun.
Of course.
Nobody was like, it's not like guys.
No,
I mean, don't
guys
get
are
me
disgusting.
wrong. I'm sure there's some girls who thought it was amazing, but it wasn't to get erotic or hot or anything. It was more like, you're 14 years old. You're like, ah.
Generally speaking, women go to strip clubs. It's like the Thunder Down Under. Woohoo, girlfriend. When guys go to strip club, it is serious business. It is. They think
they're gonna get some.
We're
there to embarrass our friends.
Exactly. Guys are in there with like trench coats and miners' helmets. They are focused. They're not playing around. It is gross. Guys are disgusting.
We would take $5 and hold it over our friend's head when they weren't looking.
Right.
Although I went to one, I think I told you this, where a lady put a whole handful of change in ice water and then dumped it down this guy's banana hammock. He was not happy.
When they start giving you handfuls of change, I might mambo away. I'm not leaning into that. I was
sitting right next to this crazy lady. I was like, oh shit, we're all in trouble.
We're all in trouble.
But it was not hot. It was more like he embarrassing.
Totally.
God forbid you get pulled up on stage. You're like, oh, right. At least there weren't cell phones back then.
Well, because the little known fact, male strippers are generally gay as well.
Exactly.
Because gay guys, stereotypically, take much better care of themselves and they're much better dancers.
Yes.
So
I had my friend who was married to a gay man get us a copy of gay porn so we could learn things.
That's a bridge too far, Aaron. Come on.
No. Check this out. The sets were beautiful. The music was lovely. And these dudes sure as hell took care of themselves.
Yes. 100%.
It was a whole different level of production versus crazy old Ron Jeremy. Let me just tell you that. These dudes were ripped. It was like unbelievable. There's like Marvel people making the sweet, sweet love.
Yes, it's a different thing. So I hear. Anyway.
It could all be the same now. This was 1,000 years ago.
Let's get this train back on the track since we're talking about
this was educational purposes.
Yes. The women who were actually at the slumber party were basically ciphers. And the guys who kind of raid the party, their boyfriends or whatever, have no character either. They're just horny peeping Tom dudes who are friends with the girls, who are just randos. I mean, honestly, none of them have any
None of them have
character.
personality. You don't give a shit about any of them. They
You
haven't
don't.
bothered.
You don't.
This movie's about chicks showing their asses and their tits and people getting drilled, but not the way you want.
Right. No, what's funny is I was reading information about this. This movie is 76 minutes long. I don't even know if that's feature length. I mean, that's
too long. When you told me, I almost fell over because I was like, how long is this going to keep going?
Yes. Right. So it's like they're trapped in this
Mamacita
house.
Back to editing. Is that what happened after this?
We can talk about this. She directed 3 other things that you may have heard of, and she wrote a lot. She does a lot of famous screenplays. But after this, she did Made to Order with Ali Sheedy, where she's that was a real movie.
I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying it was real.
You've heard of it. She did Mystic Pizza, directed that.
I love Mystic Pizza,
which is a real movie.
That's real.
She did The Rich Man's Wife in the 90s. And I think that was about it for her directing.
Oh no, she peaked with Mystic Pizza. All women my age know Mystic Pizza.
But that was the
thing. Off in that.
She wasn't getting a lot of opportunities.
It's the same old shit.
Same old shit.
Look at the chick who did the Hurt Locker. If that was a man, he would have had. Catherine Bigelow would have gotten 3 offers that the minute that hit that, but because she's a woman,
right?
Because men's studio dudes want to hire men,
right? Absolutely. So it's a sad situation. I mean, she wrote a bunch of stuff. I know she wrote like Indecent Proposal. She wrote the script for that. She wrote the script for some other things that I can look up later. But I mean, her directing career was very short, which is strange because it seems like the things she directed seemed like they did well. So
I didn't think Indecent Proposal was that big a deal.
It was a hit, though.
I think I turned to my husband. I'm like, $1 million. I mean, if you would rather do it, husband, that'd be fine. But one of us needs to go get that $1 million.
Right?
Anyway. And I would sleep like a baby.
What else you got? Any other highlights?
Yeah, there's no highlights. I wrote down some stuff, and it starts off, she's listening to the radio.
Yes.
Nobody listens to the radio. With all do they even have radio anymore?
Radio exists, but you're right. You'd have a clock radio, and this was analog, so it's like literally like there's like the hands on the thing turning around. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think we had that clock radio at our house at one point.
But why was it on the floor? Did you notice that? Like it was next to her bed on the floor instead of on a nightstand or something.
Because nothing makes sense.
I did
notice she also had a Bjorn Borg poster.
She did. I noticed that too.
The Swede. For those who don't know, tennis used to be a big deal.
It was a big deal.
Everybody loved Bjorn Borg.
And the kid sister with her hair was literally a mullet. It was like the Billy Ray Cyrus mullet. And they tried to like kind of gussy it up a little bit, but I'm just like, was that
her shorts were so tight and high? It's like she worked at Hooters.
Yes, but to be honest, the Lakers had shorts that were that short, where it's literally full thigh. They're basically Daisy Dukes, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, 7'2" with his.
It's a wonder that the Serpantes were not loosened.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I don't know, because that's what they were talking about too. They were talking about basketball players and their shorty shorts.
They were, and they were talking a lot about like the one particular Dodger game from last night. They're like, who scored the runs for the Dodger game? Let's call the English teacher. Maybe she remembers. Let's call the PE teacher. Maybe she remembers. It's like, who cares? Who cares who won? Well,
who cares about this?
Hit that homer. It's like, this is 20 minutes of conversation in the 72-minute movie. Good Lord.
Prove what? That the girls are into sports? Why didn't they ask their asshole boyfriends?
They aren't into that.
Because they don't know. At one point, they were doing some weird handheld Blair Witch shaky camera bullshit. And I'm like, this better end soon. And they used it only once.
Right.
I don't know what the hell that was about.
Makes no sense.
At one point, they needed to light something, and 12 people all whipped out their Bic lighters. So everybody's smoking.
Oh, yeah.
Something you don't see too much anymore. I wrote down it's 1982 and no one's watching MTV. I love how people just quietly study because that's not what was going on in the 80s.
Well,
It was
only
MTV
right.
on a 24/7. They're like all Amish.
Yes. Well, and I don't. Other than the one girl in the car, there really wasn't any sex in this movie.
No.
Right? It was a lot of like unmotivated nudity. One boob
I think
squeeze,
she was just giving her a Hummer anyway.
which we at least remember in Carrie, there's an extended Hummer scene, right? And
There's
this
a full conversation going on. She must be a wizard. With no speech impediment at all.
Yes, she's the Gandalf of BJ's, no question. Good Lord. Anyway, what else you got? I'm tapped out. I'm tapped.
How did they get a whole body in the fridge? Did the serial killer go and empty the refrigerator first? And if so, where are all the shelves that he can then put in a whole human body upside down?
And I guess that was meant to be a comedic moment because Kid's sister opens up the refrigerator without looking. You see the body start to flop out, and then she closes it, and then she opens it again, starts flopping out, and then she looks, it's a body. And then there's the moment where he's like irritated because he can't fit 5 bodies into the trunk of that car in the garage. He's like, God, he's like trying to shove.
Why do you gotta put him in your car?
It's not even his car. What are you doing?
Car. Put him in another car. Leave them where they are. Who gives a fuck?
Who cares?
You leaving town, bro? Where are you going?
Clearly, you're hanging out here. Yeah, nowhere else to go.
I already talked about how she cut off his peen and then stuck it to him.
Correct. And she finds a machete and chops the blade off the drill bit off the
exactly.
Drill. He's not happy.
He got what he was looking for. And then finally, who called the police?
No one did. They tried, but he cut the.
They're showing up 6 hours later.
Well, because of all the screams echoing up and down the neighborhood. 10 people are killed.
Anybody. 10 people are killed. There's not even a light going on in the neighborhood.
Yes, correct.
I mean, I know it's LA, but come on.
Yes,
you could have noticed these
on a Friday night. Loud drills and loud screams.
Murder and screaming.
Well, one point the guy's pounding on the door. Hey, let me in. And she's watching some old movie and it is deaf as a post. Does not hear him knocking until it's too late.
Ridiculous.
Behind the scenes, here we go. Rita Mae Brown, we talked about this, wrote a screenplay for a parody of teen slasher flicks entitled It's Sleepless Nights. However, when she submitted to the producers, they filmed it as if it weren't a parody and retitled it Slumber Party Massacre. As a result, the movie displays a lot more humor, both intended and unintended, than others in this genre. And actually, when they were the script went from being called Sleepless Nights to being called Don't Open the Door. And it was actually Roger Corman who insisted they change it to Slumber Party Massacre. And this is one of a bunch of movies that came out about this time that have massacre in the title. Sorority House Massacre. They're all trying to get that Texas Chainsaw flavor. Absolutely.
Flavor Flav.
Amy Holden Jones, the director, is not very sympathetic to people who complain that she's a sellout to her gender because of all the naked chicks in this. And she says, that's what Roger Corman, the producer, wanted. That's how it's done. You give the studio what they want. Nobody complains that Scorsese, Jonathan Demme, or Ron Howard made exploitation pictures. But when a woman tries, she's called a hypocrite.
Back.
Right.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, how about we just complain that it's a shitty movie? We can focus on that.
Yes. Yeah, you can definitely focus on that.
I have to point out the lack of ball sacks in this movie. They're not on the checklist?
Definitely not on the checklist. If you look at the poster, there are like 3 women standing back from you see just the power drill, the guy standing there. It's basically 3 women and only one of them is a cast member from this movie. And they basically
said, everybody else like, I already got my check. I'm out of here.
Well, they basically said some of the girls were not busty enough for the poster. So they just found a couple other chicks with big boobs and said, you're in the poster now.
Some randos.
Briggs Stevens, who's a famous B-movie screen queen. This was her first movie. She's the girl who you see lathering herself up in the shower. And then promptly, right? But Then she goes and wanders around the closed school and gets killed in the first 5 minutes. Like, basically, she's there, show your boobs, and then we're going to kill you 2 minutes later. So
I wonder how much you'd make for that. Yeah, I forgot my textbook. So the teacher just leaves her alone in the school.
Leaves her to get locked in. And somehow the killer gets in there as well. It's a good times. There was a different ending. And there was a scene.
Was there a good ending?
Clearly not. There was also a scene where they were playing the Ouija board, spelling out the words death, which they cut. It was 72 minutes. They should.
That scene was so bad they needed to cut it.
Correct.
The movie's almost too short. But I don't feel that way.
Composer Ralph Jones is the director's brother, and he recorded the entire score on a small Casio synthesizer.
I want to say it was a 6-inch Casio keyboard. With the rumba beat.
Oh, good Lord. People slam this movie for violence against women, but most of the women who die are killed off screen, while the guys are typically killed on camera with a drill going right through them. So
yeah, what
does that mean?
That's not why we hate it.
That's not why we hate it. That is true. In the background, you can see. Let me see. You can see the book Ruby Fruit Jungle, which was the book by the film's writer Rita Mae Brown, famous feminist. So
they're like, we're gonna just disregard all your notes. Hopefully, you got paid for that. But in exchange, we're gonna throw a copy of your book in the back.
Yeah, that's 100%. So let's talk about the cast and crew, shall we? Let's see. We talked about this. Directed by Amy Holden Jones. You know her for such things as she created the series The Resident from 2018-2023, 107 episodes. She wrote Mystic Pizza. She wrote Indecent Proposal. She wrote Beethoven. She wrote The Getaway.
I'm guessing the one about the dog, right?
Yes.
Not Immortal Beloved.
Not Immortal Beloved. Absolutely. Let's see. Michelle Michaels plays Trish, the main girl. You know her from such things as Slumber Party Massacre, Death Wish 4, The Crackdown. Because
the first one wasn't a crackdown?
Because he was taking it easy on them. Let's see. Hero and the Terror, that's a Chuck Norris movie, and something called Share the Moon in 1996. Let's see. Robin Still played Valerie. You know her from such things as Slumber Party Massacre, American Ninja 4, The Annihilation, Winner Takes
Always
All.
The Annihilation.
Vampire
the Crackdown,
Nights.
The Annihilation.
Yes.
Vampire Boogie Nights.
I mean, I can keep going, but most of these people, it's like, who the hell are they? Briggs Stevens played Linda. You know her from such things as Slave Girls from Beyond Infinity, Personal Demons.
From Beyond Infinity.
Terror Tunes 4 and Slumber Party Massacre. Okay.
I gotcha.
You understand what I'm saying? Let's look at the ratings, shall we?
We shall.
Let's see. Slumber Party Massacre from 1982. Currently, 48% rotten on Rotten Tomatoes. You know what the audience gave it?
42.
46. Pretty close.
I knew it was going down.
There are 3 top critics. Nick Shager from Lessons of Darkness says, a gruesome teenage-filmed feminist tract about female fears of mature male sexuality.
They're
think that's
only
what it
calling
is?
it a feminist tract because of the original version. There's nothing feminist about this movie.
I mean,
Is Halloween a feminist tract?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, let's go.
Maybe not.
Next.
So. Scott Tobias from The Dissolve says, Jones.
I've never heard of these. These are the top critics.
These are the top critics. Tries the more effective tack of playing the slasher stuff straight and inserting clever visual jokes when she has the opportunity. 3 out of 5.
Clever.
What is your rating, Aaron?
Oh my God. It was so fucking ridiculous. And I had to pick up my phone multiple times just to make the pain go away. And it seems like it's about 200 minutes, but really it's slightly over an hour.
Right.
I am going to insert 1.5 power drills into the corpse of Roger Corman for making me live through this.
Absolutely. I agree. I give it a 2. I mean, it wasn't like offensive or upsetting or disturbing. It was kind of boring. And there just wasn't.
There's no story. You couldn't give a crap who lives or dies.
Really no story. And the characters, like, really no characterization. Like,
no, didn't even bother.
Why
did they make it a mute boarding school for girls? Because none of the dialogue mattered.
None of it mattered.
What if you have a mute killer attacking the mute girls' school? How about that? No talking at all.
It's all mutes. There you go. It's like The Artist. That sounds good to me.
On another note, did you see that movie we did about, what was it, the Danish and the Dutch
Speak No
couple?
Evil. Speak No Evil.
No Evil. I just saw a preview with Ewan McGregor.
With not Ewan McGregor. What's his name?
What?
Oh God, what is his name? It's not.
I thought it was Ewan McGregor.
No.
Sister sent me a link.
It's oh God, Professor X. What's his name? Not
Ewan McGregor.
Not Michael Fassbender. It's like
oh
God, I'm kicking my. It's like McClory.
I think I confused him with Ewan McGregor.
Yeah, I don't remember, but yeah. Isn't that funny?
He's reviewed it. He's a cutie pootie.
The guy from like Switch, or not Switch. What's that movie called? Split.
Fuck.
Split is the movie he's in. I'm having an episode.
Like Split.
It's a thing. He's in stuff.
I'm gonna say if it gets good reviews, I'm gonna go say it.
Any last thoughts for Slumber Party Massacre, Aaron?
I hope to have never another thought about it.
Yeah, the sequel was actually was better. I think Slumber Party Massacre 2. It starred Crystal Bernard. Crystal Bernard from Wings and It's a Living. She's the main girl in it. But it's not. It's like, other than that, it's like a totally separate thing. It just happens to be the killer also uses a drill, but it's on the end of his guitar. So
what?
I know,
because that's where you put him.
It's totally bizarre. Anyway, thank you very much. Go to our pages across social media: Facebook, Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram. We're on TikTok. You may be watching us on YouTube right now as we speak. You can email us. Maybe you can email us, the podcast that wouldn't die, at Gmail. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the finer podcasts are available. So don't forget to like, share, rate, and review. Won't you? Aaron, what is your social media situation?
I'm just going to say today that I'm on the gram. I am the Cult of Aaron. Join the cult.
Beautiful.
And I'm the voice of Mr. Pink in an audio drama of Reservoir Dogs.
Check it out with our friend the Vern on the Cinema Recall podcast.
Cinema Recall, network. Check it out. I'm the worst one of the group.
You are not the worst one. Just your language. Talking about our episode.
It is Quentin Tarantino.
Yes.
They should have told me if they weren't going to say the N-words. Now I'm the only asshole who's actually reading the script.
You were a little too
Conspiracy.
quick. You're a little too quick to the. You volunteered to do it. Anyway, talking about our episode Death Spa, our buddy Leo Allen says, never heard of this one, but after listening to the episode, I'm glad I hadn't. So there you go. Next week.
I would say Death Spa is better than this.
I would 100% agree with that. Next week, we're discussing the new classic, Long Legs, with Nicolas Cage and Alicia Witt, who's younger than me, but looks older than me in this movie, which is kind of upsetting. So it's in theaters. I don't know if it's on streaming anywhere, but you probably have to go to theaters.
No, not yet.
So
it's rocking and rolling.
So
don't believe the hype.
Send in your favorite scenes, favorite quotes, comments, and questions, and we may talk about it on the show. So thank you very much, and be well.
Bye.